Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you. Just watch me, mouse. Just watch me catch you, catch you, catch you. All I wanna do is impress you with my mouse trap. All I wanna do is convince you with my cheese. All I wanna do is be the coolest cat here. But I'll need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito. But I need some more super burrito.
Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday for February the 3rd, 2023. My name's Dave. Hi to everybody in the chat. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. Hello, Math. Asking right when we go live here, what about Tiny Jack? What about Tiny Jack? Teddy asking, what's the next event? Any info? Well, you're in luck, Teddy. We'll have some info here. Because it's not going to be Tiny Jack, or hey, Scribdev in the chat as well, guessing Minuscule Jack, but none other than Big Jack. But hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Scrib. Judy, hello to you. Visitor in Queso Canyon, thinking it over. Jonathan saying hello to everybody in the chat. Hello to you as well, Jonathan. KDM, hello to you. Edison, what is this new song? Well, there is a MouseHunt album out and about there. You can probably, I think it's still on Spotify. I think it's still up there. It's called The Bazaar. You can go find it. Hello to you as well, James. Hello, Jason in chat. Scrib once again. Hello, Chris. Another Christopher. Hello to you. Matt Screenspace. Hello, you're Shira. Nice to see you as always. None other than Franco in the chat saying the music is so good. I have it on good authority. Franco listens to it on repeat throughout the day, I'm pretty sure. Hello, Cyberfang. Hope you're doing well. Now says Dave, when will you re-release the song on iTunes or YouTube? You know what? No immediate plans. There's maybe things that need to be a bit organized in a certain way. So they were created long ago, kind of on for a little bit of a fun exercise, and kind of the musically inclined person who put them together is no longer part of Hit Grab. So there's some technicalities there that we'd have to work out. Hello, Ryan. Hope you're having a good day as well. Thank you for the well wishes. Well, like I said, it's none other than Big Jack is arriving. She'll be coming next week. That's Tuesday, February 7th, is when Big Jack will arrive. She's going to stick around for a little bit of time there. She'll be leaving on Wednesday, February 22. Kind of one extra day there. It's a holiday here in Canada that Monday. So with the offices closed down, that kind of extends things. So if you ever notice maybe something either goes live or ends on a Wednesday, good chance there was a Monday holiday. Basically, that's how that schedule gets to play out. But not really any functional changes to how Big Jack works. It's been a couple of years since she's been around though, so it might be tricky to dust off the old memory banks there and remember how it put together. Maybe this is your first time at least having access to Queso Canyon region while Big Jack arrives. It's a very familiar resource exchange. Works just the way she had in her previous visits. Her last one was back in 2021. You can exchange all your various resources, kind of trade them up. Mild leaves become medium. You can trade medium for hot, hot for flaming, and so on. She has various blooming plants. You can put any excess bland queso that'll just kind of convert it into various types of materials with a little sprinkle of wild tonic to get the plant to bloom instantly into various things magically. As well as bonus drops of queso kegs, which, especially if you're new to the area, if you're just starting out, haven't fully upgraded your pump, you haven't done a whole lot of mapping in the area, then the bonus drops of queso kegs is pretty nice. You get a little boost to your collection of bland queso. Works throughout the region. You don't have to be in the river or anything like that. Or maybe the blooming plants, they do cost bland queso, so hey, every time you get a keg, that's kind of helping you buy a few more plants while she's here. And the last note I have there as well to keep in mind is Valentine's Day will be while Big Jack is visiting. So there'll be a little overlap there, kind of the Valentine's Matchmaker event. As you remember, it will run from February 13 to 17, where kind of the mice couple off. There's some bonus hunts, a chance to catch a few of the Valentine's event mice as well. So that's the big rundown on Big Jack. Gonna get caught up a little bit on chat here as well. Hey, Nathan, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Chong, am I too late? Never too late. Welcome to chat. Diamond, hello to you as well. Eileen, hello, hello. Get caught up on all the greetings here. Duckness, hello to you as well. John, what's going on today? I think that was said a few minutes ago here as I get caught up. It's none other than Big Jack. And actually, because sometimes it's just easier to take a look in game, we can go and take a look at Big Jack's visit as well. But like I said, very similar. So if you've been around for previous Big Jack visits, it's going to be basically the same as you remember it. It's an opportunity to trade in some supplies. Script Jacqueline, yes. Short form, but her friends call her Jack. Tarako, really want to keep the golems in the winter hunt. Well, we got a little ways to go before discussing the next winter hunt, but it certainly feels like winter around here, at least in this part of the woods. I think right now, what's the temperature out? It's negative 15 Celsius or 5 Fahrenheit for our friends in the States there. So it's chilly. It's chilly here today. I'm feeling the great winter hunt a little bit. Jason, the Sunken City and Zocor events don't get enough love. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we've kind of run them here and there, and it can be a little bit awkward sometimes. It was something in the past we tried doing mini events for a lot of areas, and sometimes they just didn't have that strong identity, or especially if it's an area you've kind of completely mastered. You've gotten all the rewards out of it. You've gotten a lot of King's Crowns. You've finished a lot of your above and beyond stretch goals. Sometimes we'd get a sentiment where it feels like, well, I guess I'll go to the Sunken City because there's an event, but I don't really want to do the Sunken City. I'm not having fun there. So it's a little bit odd, but this is something most of the time everyone can benefit from, because even if you don't want to hunt in Queso Canyon, you can show up, buy a few things from a shop, and go back to where you were. So it kind of has a different feeling that way. Generic, will the tonic cost of the plants be reduced a bit this year with how much a rib has dropped in value? I think she might feel a little overpriced now. Well, I mean, it's up to you which wares you want to go for, and it kind of scales as well. So let's take a look at her shop. It's all the same exchange rates, though. Nothing like that has changed. You can trade excess nacho for mild spice leaves, and then kind of similarly trade all those things up. And in some ways, kind of on the upper end of them, they kind of have to feel a little bit expensive when you go all the way up to the top tier. And without that, it just wouldn't work. Otherwise, if you do have too many mild leaves and everything just kind of got more affordable as you went up, you just end up with too many flaming. And then you're like, okay, I need Big Jack's cousin to show up and let us trade all my flaming leaves for something. So that's the whole point of it. You're not supposed to go all the way up unless you really have way too much stuff. You should decide where you want to stop based on your own resources. So, I mean, that's kind of why everything scales up in cost. So even if you go down to the tonic cost on the plants, you might just want to take small blooming plants. It's just one wild tonic each. Pick all those and then exchange up the leaves after you pick it. Or if you have just way more queso than you know what to do with, like different kind of purchases make sense based on the supplies you have available to you, basically. But never feel compelled to, okay, she's here, I'm going to work my way from left to right. I'm going to buy as many of this, as many of this, as many of this, as many of this. You might be doing yourself a bit of a disservice that way. So just kind of keep that in mind, think it over. Even you don't have to do it all at once. She's around for a little while. You can exchange a few items and kind of think on it, come back, and like, okay, I think I want to buy a little bit more, exchange up a little bit further. YX, any plans to increase the drop rate of the rib from the geyser? No plans. That is what it is. And typically, it's not too often we go back and we tweak and change things. But when we do, we always put a patch note as well. So, rest assured, we're not. I wish we had time to go back and tune some previous content, but it's not too often we're able to do that. Although we have been able to do it quite a bit more frequently than we used to. But rest assured, it'll appear in patch notes if anything like that changes. Josh, you joined a little bit over a year ago, so you haven't experienced Big Jack. Well, welcome, Josh. Hopefully you're enjoying the game. And yeah, Big Jack, it's exciting, especially if you haven't really sunk your teeth too much into the geyser. Then while you're hunting, the mice are going to drop these kegs of queso. And yep, sure enough. First hunt I went on, I got a medium keg of queso. There's 500 bland queso in there. So if you're just starting the area, that's a pretty exciting aspect of Big Jack. If you're, seasoned and you have been hunting at Big Jack for a long time, then that's probably a little less exciting of a part. Although, take all the bland queso you can get. You can never have too much. But then you might be in a situation where, listen, I just have way too much mild leaf. I don't want to hunt with that much mild queso. then you can trade it up to medium. And if you still think you have too much medium, you can go up to hot, and etc. etc. Flamin' for extra flamin'. Well, exactly, analysis there. If it worked that way, it would just shift. I have too much of this into I have too much of that. So the whole point of Jack is to let you balance things out and decide what do you have too much of, and to provide a sink for what you have too much of. And so kind of that's why as you trade up, you sort of get diminished return. It's quite intentional. It sort of has to work that way. Otherwise, kind of just Big Jack wouldn't work. Josh says, long live the winter golems. There's never any shortage of love for them. Josh, should you start to grind queso for this event? I mean, yes and no. It kind of depends on where you're at. But, like I said, I think if you're just starting the area, it's a small little boost, but it's kind of even a little bit more targeted at if you've been in the area a very long time and you kind of want to get rid of some excess low-level resources. That said, the kegs will certainly help. Eileen, it's chilly where you are as well. It is 7 Fahrenheit with the wind chill down to minus 35. That's windy too. There's this cold front. There's some Arctic air just creeping down. Don't say I care for it too much. Alice is still waiting on the puzzle block aura to return from treasure trawling charms. And treasure trawling charms. Well, the puzzle block aura will probably be retired, but treasure trawling event is still kicking around, but nothing's quite immediately turnkey. Tweety Driver, if you did not claim the Lantern Adventure while the event was going, is it lost then? You can, I believe, I might be mistaken here. I'm pretty sure you can still claim the adventure up until the event ends this coming Tuesday. I might be mistaken there. For sure, if you didn't claim track rewards, it'll be in the camp section. You can still buy things from the reward track. I'm pretty sure the adventure works that way as well, but I could be mistaken. But please, 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 that is also a good little segue here. Remember, the Lunar New Year event is coming to an end when Big Jack arrives, which is on February 7th. So make sure you go load the shop. Look at the Trapsmith. There's trap skins in there. Decide, do you want to pick up any of those before Lunar New Year packs up? If you haven't already, the camp banner will still be there. If you haven't claimed any of things from the track, once you claim it, it goes away and it's gone. That's it. But if you just ignore that big pulsing button that says, please claim your reward track rewards, you'll be out of luck on Tuesday. And kind of keep that in mind as well. The event ends during the day on Tuesday. So Tuesday isn't the last day. Monday's really your last day. Please, treat it like that. When you know, cool, the event ends on Tuesday, in your mind, think Monday is my last chance to do everything. If you leave it to the last minute, you might be disappointed. If you kind of get busy and you forget to do it, why risk it? YX, how about an unstable curd item which gives random amount of different spice leaves? That kind of exists, right? So if I can go back here, that's what these plants are. So these small blooming plants, they're basically like your unstable items. You pick them and you get some random stuff, but there's 4 different types of them. So you have a little bit of control over exactly what you're looking to get, but there's a few surprises to be had as well. So that's kind of the same idea there. John, keeping it pyramid shaped would work as well. I don't know what pyramid shape is. Peepor, any possibilities of dated trap skins getting artwork refreshes, like inclusion of background art? Probably not. And it's a bit of an awkward spot, especially with anything to do with cosmetic looks. I need to sound my horn. Let's do that. Because people probably made the choice to pick up that trap skin based on the way it looks. So I feel like that's one thing. You got to be careful not to change the look of it unless, it's really necessary. I'd almost rather just release a new skin for the trap that looks a little bit different. Especially anything, maybe you earned it. It was difficult to earn in game, right? And you went out of your way and you went, good, I got that skin. Awesome. I love it. And then it changes and you're like, oh, wait, this isn't what I spent all that time trying to earn. Or sometimes we sell them for cash as well. So imagine you buy something and you enjoy it and then it gets changed on you. You're like, well, this isn't what I bought. What, can I have a refund, please? So, I think it's best not to touch kind of the look of cosmetic items. It can be a bit of a can of worms unless it's really, no, just basically everyone agrees this one needs a little love. Sometimes some of those older skins and traps can have a hidden nostalgia as well, to look through your inventory and take a look at it and remember, a previous time in the game where you played. John, will Big Jack be a February feature from now on? No. So this is not a reoccurring schedule. We don't know. She's a mysterious entrepreneur, and we don't quite know when she's going to show up. So it's totally up to Big Jack when she wants to tour through Narnia. She must have been busy last year selling wares elsewhere. Josh, you joined the game when it first launched in May 2009. Took 8 years off. Well, welcome back, Josh. Glad the game is still going strong as well, eh? That's the cost of living in Canada. Well, can't complain too much, I guess. John, kegs are a good source of bland queso for hunters who do not do the Grand Tour maps. Those are an excellent source of bland queso. So if you can organize with other hunters in the community or just have a really solid group of friends to power through them, that's a great way to get bland queso as well. And it would probably exceed what you could get from hunting these barrels of these kegs of queso. Beyond Queso Canyon, are there plans to have more areas with the law power type? No immediate plans, but as the years tick by, all the power types eventually get an area here and there. Sometimes there's a bit of a drought where there's an area where this power type isn't being used for a bit, and then it rises back kind of into the new adventure mix. But at least the very next area coming out does not involve law. I can say that as much for sure. As far as what comes after that, well, who knows? Any news on Ronza this year? She is another mysterious entrepreneur, and she's even harder to get a signal from when she might be landing. So no, we haven't heard anything from her either. Scrib the Ember Gadget, that's another good unstable item from the region as well. That was kind of a nice reward structure that I kind of liked about kind of the first three areas, was that you can pick up the trap using these unstable Ember Gadgets. Apparently I haven't had enough coffee today to be able to speak. And then cool, once you get the trap, it's like, well, what do I do with these things? I keep getting them. Hey, you can just poke them and turn them into random stuff. Scrib, any chance of a Jack-themed skin maybe for a future visit? You know what? That's a fabulous idea. Scrib, I wish that idea came up about 3 weeks ago, because I'd be on board. I think there's probably a lot of fun artistic inspiration to be had from that. So I think we gotta maybe put that in the feedback bin for next Jack visit. Maybe a big old like pile of quesos, or like precariously sort of see if there's a trap where we can draw some inspiration from, or one of the bot traps, just kind of a big barrel chest type bot. Asking how Larry is related to Ronza. I don't think they know each other. I don't think they're related. There's no familiar relation, at least. Any rumors about the next continent? We're just covering all the bases today, eh? That might be a signal to move on from Big Jack, but no, it'd certainly be fun to explore the other side of the ocean, but no immediate plans. John, any chance for redesigning the horn for Big Jack? I don't think this time around. I mean, it would be kind of fun, especially the events that show up quite frequently. It would certainly be fun to make horn skins, but at least right now, the next skinned horn is planned for the birthday event, and I'm pretty sure that is what Jacob was illustrating last Friday if you joined him for Art Edition. He was skinning up the horn for birthday. Kind of one last thing too here I want to touch on Big Jack before we move on. This is one new piece of functionality, and hey, it's a countdown timer for how long the event is going to be lasting for. And the goal here is to try to make this in a generic way where we can more easily bring this idea into more events. And so there's a countdown bar. It also would be good to get feedback when this goes out, just kind of what's the best way to display how much time is left. We kind of mulled back and forth a little bit, tried a few different variations. And there's pros and cons to everything. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how hunters you perceive everything. And we want to kind of iterate on this as time goes by, because it's something we like to add to most events wherever we can. And you can kind of see it's a decaying bar. It's just slowly ticking down. It's like something's just om-nomming the other side of the bar and making it get shorter and shorter. It'll kind of start to turn yellow, orange, red when there's not very much time left. Makes me think I'm playing like Super Mario or Sonic, where the music starts to get really fast when you're almost out of time, create a little sense of urgency. But hopefully that kind of helps alleviate any confusion around time zones and what have you. You can, there's no sort of time, and it's in UTC, and you gotta Google what the heck does UTC mean? What does that mean for me? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a countdown timer, basically. I'm over explaining what a countdown timer is. Just one little grain of salt here is when the bar reaches 0, the event may not technically end. It's just going to say any minute now, because depending on the style of the event and how things work, we still have to log in and kind of update the game. We got to type a command. We got to let that command run. We've got to kind of initialize a few things. And then there's not just one server running the game, but there's usually anywhere between 6 and 20 of them running the game. So then that's even got to kind of roll out, and all those files got to copy. So basically the point I'm trying to illustrate is an update can't happen in an instant. It at least takes a few moments for it to roll out. And there's a human element in there as well. So, the bar will hit 0, and basically you should plan for the event to end then. But no, okay, it might not be out of the ordinary that 5 minutes later it's still kicking around and, okay, now it's shut down, just as a heads up. Kind of rule of thumb, an event can start early, but it can't end early. That's our rule of thumb, Bishop, countdown timer, Discord bot, and chat. I think the more places you can see how much time is left, the better, though. And then it's everywhere. Whether you're in game, whether you're on Discord, you can see countdown timers. And we're playing around a little bit during the winter hunt. We embedded one in the news post, and that was pretty good. That was effective to say, hey, a countdown timer is a good way to communicate that. But even better if it's right in the UI. So you can see that in the pop-up. And similarly, even you see this like 2 days kind of in the way here. See this 2 days floating around here, so this will also be kind of in your face, or you can click more info and get a little bit more precise countdown timer. Bronx, what are the odds of having another Labyrinth puzzle box or event? No immediate plans, so I don't know. We'll kind of see. The original intention with some of those mini events was to try to have some fairly turnkey stuff. Just, I don't know, some of those periods, maybe there's a lot of people interested in the Labyrinth. You can kind of turn it on and run it for a bit. Just, unfortunately, that whole plan, the best laid plans sometimes don't work out. It's still not quite as turnkey. We can't just click a button and have everything turn on. We tried, but there's always still a little bit of preparation to do, and a little bit, you got to test it again as well. You flip a switch, it's like, oh, it's broken. What have we done? Right? And then there's kind of, egg on your face, and now you've created a problem to solve. So for the time being, no plans to kind of bring back some of those really old events, like the zombie invasion. Never say never, but there's no immediate plans anyway. Script progress bar, mice chomping at it. That would be a fun little anime. Like, every minute when something gets taken down, it's just little mouse takes a bite off the end of the bar and you skin it like it's a piece of cheese. Anyway, we're getting into all sorts of creative ideas. Finally, in-game countdowns just bypass the time zone confusion. Yeah, exactly. Shooting Star, great. Nice to see it. Lunar New Year event has ended. Could have benefited greatly from this due to the luck modifier. Yeah, there was a slight hiccup for about 3 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes. The event did kind of turn itself off, and that was not intended. And so kind of the event lingered on for a few more minutes after that as well. It was maybe 30 or 45 minutes after. Potato, thinking a bit further, can we get a teaser what areas we'll have to prep for the egg hunt? The Ultimate Egg Master is still as challenging as always. You want to be prepared. I think we'll probably get in the Sprig Egg Hunt on a future Feedback Friday. But, if I had to take a guess, I think many hunters would probably guess the Folklore Forest could use some eggs. I don't think it has any eggs, does it? No, I don't think it does. So the Folklore Forest is probably a pretty good guess. Is there any chance of adding a shadow skin for the Golem Guardian trap, as it's the only trap type missing? No, we don't update LE content, so it's very intentional that the Golem Guardian trap only has certain power types, and maybe you're testing my trivia knowledge here. There's Arcane, Physical, Hydro, and Tactical, I think. Are there 4 of them, or are there more? I can't quite remember. A timer is green that turns yellow for the last few days, then red for the final day. Yeah, you got the right idea, Josh. And like I said, we'll play around with this a little bit. It'll be interesting to see, kind of as thousands of players get to experience it. We'll see what the feedback's like, right? And if anybody does find it a little bit confusing, that'll be great information that we have at our disposal to tweak it a little bit. Yeah, Judy likes countdown timer. Makes it easier to tell how much time is left since time zones are kind of confusing to look at. You don't have to tell me, Judy, all right? I'm infamous for messing up time zone conversion. I'm not allowed anywhere near that. Whenever I'm working with any sort of date ranges, countdown timers, I get like 2 other devs to review that. I was like, can you please review my code and don't trust me? All right, I want you just to pretend I'm not very bright right now and just look over it very closely. And then they say, I don't even have to pretend there, Dave. No, I'm just kidding. Arthur, this game sort of ignited your love for cheese. Great to hear it. Actually, for a while, when we were working from the office, we had one of the devs brought in, I think they found it at a flea market or something, the big book of cheeses. And it was great for brainstorming all the different varieties of cheese. And it would give you a little bit of knowledge of where different parts of the world and what cheese is popular. You remember back when there were weekend events, John? Yeah, I think I can remember those days as well. Kind of lesson learned as well, deploying something on a Friday is usually not a great idea because no one's around to fix something just in case it goes wrong. So we sort of learned our lesson the hard way a few times with some weekend events and different things. And so now I think it's a little bit better that we start them during the week and they can last longer than just a weekend. Bottled Samurai, can we have the number of steps to the next floor instead of progress bar? I think that's in a tooltip. I might be mistaken, but I wonder if that is in a tooltip. I could be just completely fabricating things, but I wonder if that is somewhere. Not about the timer bar could look like cheese too. See, look at this. It's something I try to stress as well. I try to keep it in mind myself. I try to kind of let the other devs know as well. Often the best way to get inspiration, the best way to find the best version of something, especially when it comes to UI interface stuff, where it's not gameplay. It's hard to change how difficult a mouse is or a loot drop or how you craft something. That's kind of hard because people do it one way and you don't like to change the rules of a game after it's started. Naturally creates some upset feelings. But something like this, right? Like it's kind of has no impact on how you play the game. It's informational, it's UI, it's interface. The best way to make the best version of that is to sort of take your best stab at, okay, I think this looks pretty good. Get it out there, and just immediately you get thousands of players to give their feedback, their input, their ideation, and just magic starts to happen. Things like, hey, that could look like a big old brick of cheese that is just slowly crumbling away. You get fun ideas come up. Whether you end up acting on them or not, or is one thing, but they often lead to inspiration, to creativity, right? It gets the creative juices flowing. So anyway, that's my tangent. That's my soapbox moment. Elam, you can't see the targeted or local egg. I can only see the 40 eggs. We do have that logged. I'm hoping we can do something, not to get too off topic here and get into the spring egg hunt, but that is a problem specifically on actually mobile and browser, I believe, suffer from this. Some of the non-area specific eggs, so think things like the Marketplace mogul egg is hidden in the Marketplace UI. You can't see that in your excavator, which seems like a pretty big oversight. We do have that logged. I'm hoping we can do something about it this year. But it is a bit of a challenge because we have to rethink how that whole excavator works. So we'll see what we can do. Queso leaking from the barrel for the timer, says Vicious. See, look at all these fun ideas. You could skin it up a little differently for every event. Kind of sounds fun. Nathan, how has Dave not mandated a twisted carmine egg? Eh? Yeah, how does that happen? There's the shattered eggs. I don't like to get those though because you have to use a shattering charm. Elam used to be able to see all the eggs. I may have gotten lost in a change to the excavator UI. Is it time to sound my horn again? It sure is. Let's see how this goes. Look at that. Speaking of carmine. Twisted carmine. All right. I've got a little bit of cheese to use up, I think. Rashawn asking, is the birthday the same as last year? Any tweaks? Yeah, it's basically the same. There'll be a new snack pack available. Absolutely, I don't want to give credit where it isn't due. I mean, the whole team did a great job with it. I think Norman had the creative idea to make it a little package of sunflower seeds for the folklore forest. Because there's farming. It's very rural. And I believe Kelly illustrated the bag, and it is absolutely adorable. I don't know if I can quickly find it, or find it quickly enough to share. Let's see, birthday, where are you? This is an opportunity to sip coffee and look for an image. B-Day, right? Hey, all right, we found it. Let's see if we can make this work. We can go a little bit off topic here. So there will be a new pack. We'll inject a little birthday. I don't know. I think that's just an awesome snack pack right there. Story Seeds. Jonathan, will there be a Kings giveaway this year? No plans for it at the moment. I'm with you, though. I really want there to be another giveaway. It's just a matter of kind of getting the work done and kind of deciding where we want to spend our hours. Caesar, correction, it's 5 skins. So there's Physical, Tactical, Hydro, Arcane, and Forgotten. So yeah, I mean, typically we don't update LA stuff, and so that was designed for a certain area of the game. There's certainly other shadow traps now that exceed what the golem would have to offer. So I'd say maybe just set your goal on some shadow trap upgrades. Young asking, may I ask when Ronza is in 2023? You can ask, but I do not have an answer. You can scratch that off your bingo card twice for this fine feedback Friday. Bottled Samurai, the Valorift HUD shows number of steps to the next Eclipse floor when you hover over the bar in the center, but not the number of steps to the next floor. Okay. Good food for thought. I don't know if you need to really make very many decisions based on the floor changing. If anything, it's more thematic, right? Like the mouse pool changes, I guess, if you're working on a map or something like that. But it might also be, what's very helpful as well, when there's a suggestion. What can really help give it some momentum is saying why you want to see that happen. I feel like that kind of can, spark the fuel of inspiration. So often we have to read between the lines a little bit as well. Kind of say like, okay, because often it's like, hey, maybe not applicable to this, but hey, how about this? And really, you got to think, okay, why, what's creating the need for that? And is there an underlying problem that if you fix this, it would just kind of correct everything else? Maybe not quite applicable to that Valorift example, but anyway, I'm rambling. Theta, could we get quill issue added to the text that the Myth Weaver writes on your book when you fail to catch? Quill issue. I don't know. That might be a little too confrontational. Alex, careful with the coffee. There's no lid. Hey, I spilled the last time I spilled coffee on my laptop. It had a little, have you know. Seems it's getting earlier with each year passing. I think I'm out of context here. I'm trying to get caught up on chat here. Let me just... Snack Pat art is always good. I agree. I'm pretty sure Kelly illustrated that. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I can double check here. Yes, Kelly did. All right. Swift says, oh, I wanted to eat the grubs. Well, I think that's a thing, right? There are some... You can eat, get chocolate-covered crickets. To each their own. More an idea for the duration. Start with the row of wildfire down slowly to plan. Yeah. I think there'd be a balance, right? We don't want to venture too far away from kind of universally accepted and understood design language. If we get too cute with it, I worry then you might not be able to understand what it's trying to portray anymore. Well, we'll see. Alcanor liking that new snack pack as well. King's Giveaway seems to be an uncommon event. Yeah, I'd like to hopefully get in a rhythm where we could do once a year. Sometimes it's just hard to get. There's only so many hours in the day. I know I think I say it every week. I wish I could pause time, go do a bunch of stuff, get it all ready to go, unpause time, and then just kind of release it when it's ready to go. I wish there were more hours in the day. I'm sure many people feel the same. Yep, Bronto trying to unpack why there was no shadow skin, but yeah. Halloween introduced a new shadow trap, so a lot of it's just timing. Everything's a product of its time in that way. A lot of times the rewards are, what kind of makes sense at that time, especially limited edition, because once you have it, future hunters can't get it. So it's really a snapshot of, what's kind of applicable at that moment. And, eventually they all kind of reach their, sunset moment. Where maybe they were the greatest and best thing ever, and then just through normal doing adventures and different things like that, you can kind of earn better stuff, and they become a little less relevant over time, and I think that's natural. You just share what factory repair charms return for this year or another new item. Yep, they're going to make a return. So, as we have time to overhaul some events, we'll kind of update them with that new design philosophy of moving away from charms that do special things in areas so that you can use your charm slot to help you catch mice, for the most part. But because we're not overhauling the event this year, it's certainly starting to raise in the priority of maybe it needs an overhaul, but we didn't have time this year. So it'll just basically be as you remember it. There's a new snack pack. I don't think there's too many other surprises. Rashawn, apart from events, how? I don't quite know TOC. Oh, table of contents. RNG can't quite seem to go further than volume 40s. It was intentional the way that's laid out. Is it doesn't really matter how far you get. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does, but as you write volumes, each volume gives you basically the same reward as the last one at a certain point, right? So it purely is just for the fun of seeing how big of a number I can put up and how many volumes. Don't get me wrong, when you start over, those first few volumes until the Mythweaver shows up are, you have to invest the time to get back to that point. But then after that, it's just kind of, it's not even gravy. It's just kind of repeating itself over and over. And so, we tried to find a balance there where it wasn't do or die. It really was just to see it's a fun stat more than it is meaningful. It's not to say it isn't entirely meaningful because there's that time investment to get past the first few volume or first few chapters to get writing encyclopedia volumes. Script may suggest Iran's a thingy, perhaps something to improve sand dollar drops, because holy wow, this sharks is especially painful, eh? I think Meh there in chat has your back. Golden anchor charms, I think that was their effect. Case in point, some of the design challenges with charms, when there gets to be 400 of something, it's very hard to remember what they all are, where you get them, what they do. So that's why we want to pare that down. And actually, Jake on the team, he's trying to push that forward a little bit, get some of the inertia killed there. We're trying to slowly move towards, it won't happen overnight, but where there's just kind of a few core charms. So you can kind of remember what they all are. Whereas there's hundreds, that's too many. We want to get it down to just a number that you can remember what they all are, where they all come from, and generally which one's better than the other. Yeah, that's probably a topic for another day, but Jake is pushing that behind the scenes. He's doing some design work on it. What time is it? It is 11:38. I meant to kind of change topics here about a half hour in, but better late than never. So I want to move on to another topic, and it is one to start a discussion. So before I even kind of put anything up over here, if you're one of the very nice, helpful hunters who do Feedback Friday summaries, first of all, huge pat on the back. I appreciate what you do, but please make clear that, we just kind of want to get this discussion going and amongst players to help just shape the feedback, right? There's no concrete plans to make any changes to anything, but we just kind of want to see what hunters have to say. Hopefully that makes sense. Because I could see it being a little bit of a touchy topic, because it has to do with arguably one of the most powerful charms in the whole darn game, bait keep charms. And so we kind of want to discuss, see what player sentiment is, make sure we're not way off base here. And this is some feedback we started to collect a number of years ago, actually. There's a spot where we keep notes on this very topic, and it's just been getting updated for the course of years. And it was shortly after Queso Canyon came out. And we're kind of looking for player feedback impressions on how do you think bait keep charms affect the feeling of challenge and excitement when something first comes out. It was kind of feedback we first wrote down with Queso Canyon because very quickly it felt like you could get a limited amount of wildfire cheese, and a big identity of that area was this is great cheese and it's very hard to craft. So we kind of want to see, what's the sentiment? Are we way off base there? Think about other areas as well. Like it came up in conversation again with the first run of the Boiling Cauldron. Because again, the identity of that event was trying to make a special type of cheese. And that was part of the challenge of it. And that's really what made it fun was that challenge of making that cheese. Does this kind of just take away a little bit of that fun? Folklore Forest, even as recently as that. You can think, the Stormy Clam and Bear cheese, Final Draft cheese, Heart of the Meteor, another example of something that came out after the advent of bait keep charms. Yeah, Swift, honestly, the availability of the maps made them too powerful. And I think we've said in the past as well, if we had a time machine, I think these are a very fun, powerful item, but they weren't a great fit to put in maps because really anything in maps become tradable, and anything tradable, you can get a large quantity of them. And it's more fun if you only have a few and you're strategically using them than if you have a whole bunch. That said, I don't think we really want to change that aspect of it. I think the ship has sailed on that. Addin says we have bait keep charm when we'll be getting charm keep bait. Well, we don't want to overcomplicate things here. And these were born out of a time. There's a really fun idea to have like a boss map, which became the Slayer map. And what held us back for a long time, when we kind of, put it together and we're playing it, it was just, well, that was kind of fun, but that was so hard that what's my reward for doing that, And it's just without that like little piece, it all kind of fell apart. And this fit that role pretty well, but it almost makes it a little too available having it in maps. Damon felt really awful doing Fungal Cavern without bait keep charms for Diamond Cheese because of how Diamond Cheese only crafts in batches of one. There's maybe a good example, though, of kind of looking a little under the surface. Rather than the solution to that be, okay, instead of having to make Diamond Cheese, you have to go get these charms. Maybe Diamond Cheese just needs to be tweaked, right? Like kind of thinking under that. And hindsight, I think that's what we would do. If we were to redo the Fungal Cavern today, you would not make Diamond Cheese in batches of one. That's just silly. It should be... Sure, it can take a long time to make, but when you get there, you should be able to experience Diamond Cheese for a longer period of time, as well as kind of toying with the mice that they attract. And not so much to discuss the usefulness of them. I don't think anyone's going to disagree that they have a very strong, powerful use, but more, it's only feedback we tend to get when something first comes out. And it almost feels like, that was it. I didn't get to sink my teeth into it. I was like, oh, it's almost like I got to complete the adventure 2 years ago when I got these charms rather than getting to complete it when it first come out. And so, that's kind of the sentiment we've been writing down over the years. Like I said, with Queso Canyon, Boiling Cauldron, Folklore Forest, Heart of the Meteor, this is when this conversation tends to bubble back up to the surface. Actually, the problem you found with Bait Keep over the years wasn't so much their strength, but more you can say have hundreds and thousands of them. Yeah, exactly, right? But I don't know if we can kind of tweak that as much as maybe tweaking their identity a bit. They think bait keeps are well designed in Folklore Force. They give you a boost but take a large catch rate hit. Yeah, and that's fair. That was quite intentional. The Myth Weaver is a little stronger because of the influence of this charm, right? But that poses a bit of a challenge because not always do you want that mouse to necessarily be very powerful. And so, you don't always want to have to design around something. You'd like to design with it. Man, not really fun grinding for Diamond Cheese when they are in maps. Yeah, and again, speaks more to Diamond Cheese than Bait Keeps, right? Like if Diamond Cheese isn't fun, I think Diamond Cheese needs to be tweaked, not have a charm that then changes the identity of so many cheese in the game. Shooting Star, there should be a 3-way debate between 3 types of charms, Bait Keep Ultimate and the Rewinding Charm for what's the most powerful, eh? Yeah, saying imagine wasting 40 Diamond Cheese trying to catch a Hunter Weaver without Bait Keep charms. But again, that speaks to not so much the usefulness of the charm, but that Diamond Cheese doesn't feel fun. So I'd rather, it's almost like just plastering over a crack in the wall. And be like, yep, see, the crack's gone. No, you didn't fix the underlying problem.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
All my smart devices are activating. Elam, you never use your Bait Keep. You'll gladly trade them for more Ultimate, eh? You think Bait Keep charms help to remove the grindy aspects of some areas? But Damon, then shouldn't we just have more fun areas? It's time to sound my horn. There'll always be variety, right? And, don't get me wrong, I like a good grind sometimes, Scrib, a Bait Keep charm limit would be a way to go, I think. That makes it tough because then almost some of your treasure chests might feel like they're being held hostage. It's like, I want to open them, but if I do, I'm not going to get everything out of them. So that's tricky. There's been some suggestions over the year, and there's pros and cons to some of them. And again, I want to stress No guarantees. These aren't some plans. These are just discussion points. One was replace the bait keep charm with a cheese voucher. Here's a cheese voucher, and you can go exchange it for a tier 8 cheese. You can go exchange it for diamond cheese. You can go exchange it for wildfire cheese. Here you go. Kind of look at what are the cheese types that are most popular and, quite frankly, just make the most sense. The times players are going to use these charms. And here you go. You can just have a free piece of that cheese. And that does come, whether you think it's a pro or a con, it frees up your charm slot. So now you can use your charm to boost your catch rate and have a piece of cheese, which means you're going to be able to catch a few more mice with those cheese as well and stretch that a little bit further. So now 100 bait keep charms, doing 100 hunts with wildfire, you get to use a good charm and make sure you get 100 catches. So that was one avenue, as well as even kind of reading the sentiment of some of the feedback over the years. When it tends to become a discussion point around when new areas come out, I think that's some of it, all right? There's something inherently fun about doing the same thing at the same time as everybody else, but it almost feels like somebody just has some extra, like a cheat code almost, or some extra fuel in the tank or something like that, where, that list of cheese could get updated, however many months after or something like that. Christopher I think that was the sentiment too we got from the first time, the Boiling Cauldron. Not that, it's not a competitive game, so I don't really think one person's experience necessarily takes away from somebody else's. But, there was that feedback the first time the Boiling Cauldron came around where I'm going to get one piece of scream cheese, I'm going to arm that, I'm going to arm a bait keep, and I'm done the event. And it kind of, I could see, I think I understand the sentiment there, right? It feels like part of the fun is the challenge, and some of the challenge has been removed. That said, acquiring the charm is pretty challenging as well. I guess it's just the timing of things, right? It's like, well, I want to experience something, and I think we'd all agree brand new things are kind of the most fun often, right? Because they're new, they're shiny, it's a new toy to play with, right? I think we all can kind of understand that sentiment. And so it's almost like you have this new toy, but it's like you're finished playing with it sooner than you wish you were. I can't find a good real world connection for that, but hopefully you get the underlying sentiment. And for sure there, Mark, I think this discussion's highlighting diamond cheese issue. Exactly. So rather, if the justification is like, no, I can't, I need this charm because I do not want to hunt with diamond cheese because it's so unfun, it's awful. It's like, but if there's something unfun and awful in the game, shouldn't we should address that part of it? You shouldn't just kind of, like I said, plaster over the crack in the wall. Like, let's fix the wall. Let's make a cooler, more awesome, supportive wall. How far can I stretch this metaphor? Too far, apparently. Again, these are just discussion points. Kind of one suggestion that's come up over the years is you can exchange it for cheese. And just periodically we add new boss cheese. Kind of like the King's Arms. You show up, you can exchange some cheese, and just, periodically when something's been out for however long it is, we kind of set a little reminder on the calendar and say, okay, time for that cheese to make its appearance. Other suggestions were maybe it doesn't work in areas that are higher than a certain title. It has some rough edges, though. It's a little confusing. You're going to end up arming it and kind of forget that, and then what happens there. Another interesting idea to discuss was this one, could take a little bit more to wrap your head around. But when you arm the charm, let's say there's only a 50% chance it's going to save your bait. But the time it doesn't, you don't lose the charm. So at the end of the day, if you have 100 bait keeps, it's worth the exact same number of cheese. But you kind of need more than one piece to keep it going. You need a little bit of momentum before these things start to really feel valuable. And there's pros and cons to that as well. It's a longer period of time you're spending hunts and your charm slots sort of taken up, but it's still free cheese, right? And the nice thing, it almost naturally takes care of that timing feedback that we tend to get right when it's that new shiny toy and it's like, I wish it was a little bit more challenging. It'll naturally take care of itself. If you think about the Folklore Forest, when you first started out, first draft felt pretty hard to make, didn't it? But, unlike diamond cheese, I think we've gotten a little bit better at how to make these really valuable pieces of cheese in a way where then when you arm it, you don't have this horribly frustrating experience, right? So when you first started the Folklore Forest, that cheese felt pretty hard to make, but then you get some of the upgrades, you build some momentum and some inertia, and now, okay, it still feels like a challenge to make it, but I can make a pretty good stash of it if I put my mind to it. And then when you get to that point where, okay, I got all the upgrades, I can build a nice stash of this cheese. Okay, now it's almost as though Bait Keep Charms allow you to stretch that cheese a little further rather than them be as soon as I get a piece, I win the game. So that was a pretty interesting suggestion as well. That'd be kind of good to just discuss it amongst players. James, are there any statistics on what cheese are commonly used with Bait Keep? It's been a little while since we dug into that, but I don't think there's any surprises there. Diamond cheese is very popular. Wildfire cheese is very popular. Case in point, Final Draft was very popular, less so now. And it kind of goes to show we've gotten a little bit better at how to approach. All the way, probably the very first version of this was probably Tier 8 Gauntlet cheese. If you've been playing long enough when the Gauntlet came out, I like to think we've gotten a lot better at trying to create that sort of moment. The King's Gauntlet is incredibly frustrating. It's in need of some love. And it's just that the drops go lower and lower the higher up you go. And it should almost, in a way, be the other way around, potentially. But I like to think now with the table of contents, when you think about how you end up making that cheese, the longer you spend there, the better you get at making it. And so you're becoming better at something rather than the game just always kind of pushing you back. You get to kind of take a step, and the next time you're a little better, and then you're a little stronger. And so now kind of highlighting that new, I don't know if we could kind of take that knowledge and, like I said earlier, maybe diamond cheese needs a little love, needs that sort of treatment. As you spend some time in the fungal cavern, you can build up your minerals and you get a little drill bit or something like that, and you start to be able to make more and more diamond cheese, the better of like a miner you become down there. As you crown certain mice attracted to diamond cheese, you start to get higher drop rates in the area, something like that. Alex, do you think this grossly overestimates the number of Bait Keep that the median hunter has? For sure. And I mean, that's kind of why it's remained on the back burner for quite some time. In that, most people don't have a whole lot. But definitely as you go up in titles, it goes up and up. And I don't have it right in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak. But it's a good little stash. By the time you're Archduke and above, you've got a pretty good reserve of these things. And it kind of, if I can too, now it's a little bit more pertinent. It's something that's on our mind, and we keep revisiting this little notepad we've been keeping for 2-3 years as we're preparing the next new area. And it does rely on, okay, there's some difficult to make cheese, and that's how you get sort of the final antagonist of the area, is you got to put some effort into making this cheese. But kind of as you play the area, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can start to make this a little bit better. And so it has that similar vibe where your quest with a Bait Keep charm is going to feel so different than your quest without it. I'm wondering if there's a better middle ground to strike there. Again, that sensation of like, oh, yay, okay, a shiny new area. I can't wait to sink my teeth into it. And then you're just kind of done, Aiden says, I'm a pretty casual player, but you've got 226 Bait Keep, yet I don't use them. That's quite a few. That's a pretty good stash. There are some players with thousands of them, but in the hundreds, you're doing pretty well. But that is the other thing to consider as well. There's sort of, in the terms of power up, there's a phrase, too good can't use. And you want to try to avoid that as well. If you don't have enough of something, you never end up using it. If you're playing... whether it's a first-person shooter game or something like that, and you get like a rocket launcher, and that's like the best thing you can get, and they give you one rocket the entire game, odds are when you finish the game and you look in your inventory, look, I've got one rocket, I never fired it, they only ever gave me one ammo, so I never used it. So, you got to find that balance. You need enough of it where it's like, okay, I can use these because I could get more if I need to. They're just kind of hard to get. And so they become an interesting resource to manage because they're limited, but they're not so limited that you can't get more. And it just kind of depends on how you play. They can feel like they're very powerful, but they're not very hard to get. And I feel like something that's very powerful needs to require a good amount of effort to obtain it. Yes, Caesar, the Lancashire cheese with Bait Keep is a popular option as well. Although there are some mice that take your charm slot, and that might be one of them. You might want to be using a taunting charm there. That's another thing too. I don't want to have to design around that as we kind of merge these design philosophies. We don't want to take your charm slot. When you're hunting a big, powerful mouse, I think we've had a lot of positive feedback that it's fun to bust out these big heavy hitting charms, to try to, you know, turn the tide in your favor. And as soon as we have to start to design around that, like, you know, Shattered Carmine, you just need a Shattering Charm. So, no, you can't use, you know, you couldn't, not that you would use a Bait Keep Charm there, but, you know what I mean? If we kind of force you to just give up your charm slot just for the sake of not this one charm, it kind of, I think, does more harm than good. Bottle not too keen on the voucher idea. Part of the current decision-making process is whether to save the cheese or increase catch rate. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of a nice dynamic. And two, then it kind of comes with that onus of like, okay, well, like, when do we update the list of cheese? What cheese goes on it? What cheese doesn't? Should it be you can pick any cheese in the game? Is somebody going to pick cheddar? Don't do that. Is somebody going to sit at their friend's computer when they're not looking and exchange all their Bait Keep Charms for cheddar? Dark Star chiming in with, wait, how are these not hard to get? I think it just kind of depends on how you approach things. So, you know, if you put your mind to it, you can get quite a few through maps. And like I said, if we had a time machine, I think, although it leaves us in the tough spot, what else goes in the Slayer chest? Maybe the aura would have been good enough. It's like, well, I like having this aura. But there's just something nice about being able to stockpile something. I don't know, especially in a game that's so motivated by kind of collecting resource management. It's nice just to see something stack up as well. So maybe we would have been back in a hard place there. Aiden, no shot, Dave just said Landishire bait. No, I was reading a comment from the chat. Yeah, Andos bait keeps kind of ruined Mythweaver progression. And, you know, it was an interesting experiment, too, as we look ahead to that. And that was sort of a discussion point that came up while the table of contents was firming up. And while we were playtesting it, the Mythweaver was made more powerful. And it was due to the influence of this charm's existence in the game. To try to get into a spot, like, okay, if you use bait keep charms, it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of earn or be less consistent. I think you would come out ahead still. It's still the best choice to be making. But at least you got to kind of put up with some more red boxes, or you might get a poor streak in a row where it's just kind of you're watching your charms burn away and you're not getting anything in return. Yeah, Terry, I avoided using them because they're so hard to get, and I was always trying to balance that with the number of cheese. And, you know, I think that would be a good spot for the charm, right? When you have a powerful resource, it's good if you can kind of balance that against how difficult they are to acquire. And fortunately, kind of, I think that's widespread. For some hunters, they're very hard to get, and for some hunters, they're, I wouldn't say easy to get. But, you know, they can put their mind to it, get quite a few. And then, you know, typically, like I said, Queso Canyon, Boiling Cauldron, Folklore Forest, Heart of the Meteor. These were times that discussion kind of bubbled back up to the surface. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. I just, you know, again, I want to stress, please, if you kind of take away anything, if you're going to share a screenshot of this big snippet of text, you know, include the disclaimer that the header up there is discussing. So we just kind of want to see what the sentiment is, want to see what interesting conversation points, you know, come up throughout the community, what players have to say, and help us to inform, are there any decisions to make? Do we need to change anything? If we do, what potential brainstormed options are out there? You know, it's kind of just feedback. We're really kind of have our ear to the ground right now to listen to. Like I said, as we're preparing the next new expansion to the game, it involves hard to get, kind of quote unquote boss cheese. Cheese that's very difficult to get, and it's rewarding when you use it. But, you know, does it take away from some of that fun to know, like, okay, this backlog of something I got years ago now, I kind of don't get to experience this in a very fun or challenging way. It's kind of taking the challenge out of it. I want to kind of see how true that feedback rings. It's something we've noted down with these releases I've noted here before. And just kind of wondering, are we about to kind of experience this feedback all over again as we release the next area? Alex, basic pyramid designs are so 2012 anyway. And that's worth noting as well. This new area is not the King's Gauntlet, okay? It does not work in that sort of, oh, wow, is it ever hard to get this one piece of cheese? I never want to do that again once I've done it. It's very much so the opposite. Script sentiment is I don't want them to disappear. I want to make clear we're not going to just delete them from the game. That would be absurd. That's not happening. and Bronx respectively. There's a few, I don't even want to say it out loud, okay? There's a few people in the chat mentioning the phrase remove it from the game. That's not happening. These will stay in the game in some sort of context, no matter what we do, whether it's just as they are, and they're going to remain that identity of like, you get free cheese. I think that's just key to it. It's just, is there a little tweak we can make to still kind of keep some of the fun, challenging elements of things while still having these feel very powerful at the same time? When we wind things down, I still have to get to the trivia. 1 hour, 2 minutes. How does this happen? How does this happen? This tends to be the case, eh? You can laugh at my description of the stream down there that says, we'll take a quick look at a visitor. I guess we took a pretty quick look at Big Jack there. But this week's trivia question, as always, Larry will have rewards if anyone gets the answer correct. And it circles back to the woman of the hour, Big Jack. What new item did Big Jack bring with her during her 2021 visit? I think I phrased that awkwardly. I even booby-trapped. I said a booby-trap for myself here to try to read that. And instantly, Swift gets the correct answer. Yes, it is the blooming rubber plant. Quickly corrected that typo. I knew what you had to say there, Swift. Sure enough, not a very difficult one this week. It is indeed the blooming rubber plant. That was a brand new. So last time Jack was here, it was 2021, and this was a new item that she brought, and it was the blooming rubber plant. You can pick it. I love the artwork for this. I'm pretty sure Lauren did this. Anytime there's any sort of plant that needs illustration, Lauren's got her hand up. Just, me. And she does a fantastic job drawing anything nature related. And I love all the little details in here. I think like the tungsten is sort of in the pot in the soil. There's a little bit of cork kind of blooming at the top. You can see rubber on the leaves. The attention to detail. I love it. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. All right, I will put this in the chat as well for your clicking convenience. And there you go, hunters. You can now click that link in the chat. Larry has a reward. It is exactly 0 ribs. You don't have to worry about that. I'll beat everyone to the joke. Alex, I'm sad we're not getting Big Jack's living garden shack, eh? Yeah, if there's anyone who would be in your corner, I think that would be me too. If I could exchange all these petals up. Although, I don't know. I think I just like having more than I can possibly use. I just want to sit there and just hunt with Lunaria until I'm old and gray. That is my goal in MouseHunt. Kevin, hey, nice to see you in chat. Any news on the widget fix timeline? Shall we go a little bit off topic? Why not? Let's hope Parham has no issues with me sharing some progress there. It's coming together. Again, no promises. We're very much in the R&D phase. Quite frankly, we're learning a new skill, right? Apple decided to do away with, here if I can, this will probably be no good whatsoever, but they're doing away with this style of widget right here, where you can kind of see, you can see things in, like, I think they call it the Today view, if I'm not mistaken. I can't find where Parham shared this. There it is. Okay, so they're doing away with that view. I meant to download it. Let me download it. Oh, it's a .mov file. I can play a .mov file. On my Windows machine. Let's see here. What's this looking like? Cool. So they're doing away with that style widget, and they're moving to widgets that you can embed on your home screen. And you've probably even seen that if you have the latest version of iOS, now you can add widgets to your home screen. Pretty cool. But one of the restrictions iOS has is you can't interact with those widgets. They can update, so we can have a countdown timer rolling, but you're not allowed to like touch it and like move something, or you can't have a button they can click. The only thing you can do is have it launch the app and tell the app, yo, they clicked the button. So basically, you can't interact with it. So I'll show you what we got so far. Maybe I can go back to full screen. Why not? I think this will loop. Let me get it in position. Guess I could have positioned it before I put it on screen. Oh well. We're multitasking. So this is kind of where we're at. Again, huge disclaimer. I should probably have the old warning on the screen that development in progress. You know, who knows? Maybe we run into a technical challenge and this doesn't end up working. But as far as iOS is concerned, because you can't interact with widgets, but we can have it launch the app and make you hunt right away. But yeah, we got to test this out a little bit more. So you can still see a countdown timer. You can still see, hey, my horn's ready. Maybe I'll go on a hunt. But the app has to launch in order for that to work. So that's where we're at with that. Script no VLC. I do have VLC actually, but then I forgot I could just embed it in here anyway. So Big Jack's Garden Shack sounds so good. That's a pretty good idea. I'm not gonna lie. But no, they're not spicy there. She's a spice vendor though. You have to have somebody else who deals with more, you know, floral petals, a florist interested in all this dried petals of some sort. Huzzah, awesome news. Yeah, and fantastic work. Parham is kind of our lead mobile developer, and he's definitely made this a passion project to try to get some sort of iOS widget replacement going. But again, huge disclaimer, please. I don't mean to set anybody up for failure here, just in case we run into some technical challenge. But so far, so good, right? And you know, we'll always be honest with players. And FYI, you know, this is just we're learning how to build a new style of iOS widget. It's brand new functionality in iOS. So no surprises. We've never built an iOS widget before, so we're learning how to do it. And yeah, Parham's been putting a lot of time and effort to try to get this ready. He wants players to be able to have some sort of widget equivalent on iOS. Hopefully we can make it happen. Rashawn, the watch widget can only horn once. You have to see the mobile app again for it to be activated. Yeah, that's on the to-do list as well. You know, it was a little bit of an MVP version of the Apple Watch app. Even if you launch it, from your watch, you'll notice it just says the word MouseHunt. And basically, iOS says, well, if you're going to use an interactable notification on your watch, you have to have some sort of app. And so this is kind of just the MVP version. We wanted to see how many people are even going to use it if we put it out there. So we're, you know, and hopefully that makes sense. We're a small team. We didn't want to spend a whole lot of time developing an elaborate Apple Watch app only to find out like 3 people ended up using it. I was like, oh, maybe there would have been a better use for our time where we could have, you know, affected more hunters. That said, right now, 13% of players, nope, that's the iOS widget. 13% of players are using the iOS widget, so they haven't updated iOS. 4% of players are using the Apple Watch to sound the horn on average 2.7 times a day. But yeah, some of that might be just kind of smoothing out that bug where if you sound your horn from the Apple Watch notification, then you won't get another notification. You have to launch the app to like schedule another one. So that's on the to-do list as well, but prioritizing the widget for the moment. Just again, I wish there were more hours in the day. Lots of work to be had. Norman, Big Fred's Garden Shed. There we go. Big Fred's Garden Shed. I like it. I like the pitch. Roxanne, hope we get more human characters in the future. Me too. Like, there's just no end to great ideas. That was something we wanted to explore, was just have more shopkeepers. Kind of bring the game to life more. You visit the trapsmith, and there is a trapsmith there saying, yo, what's up? This is what I'm selling, you know? Probably a more thematic narrative than yo, what's up? That doesn't seem to fit the narrative of the game quite well, but something more like greetings. Kevin Cool, how did the Android app widget get discombobulated through that? I think there were some other Android updates that maybe kind of caused a little bit of need for updating. Just Android operating system changes over time, right? Android updated, and now they had another restriction. Just like iOS is saying, hey, you're not allowed to interact with a widget on screen. Android said you're not allowed to update in the background in quite the same way. So we had to kind of go back to the technical drawing board and kind of change the guts of the widget. And so still kind of smoothing that out, trying to kind of bring that up the spec. Jasmine, you love the Apple Watch widget. Helps you tremendously in getting more hunts. The thing that keeps me from using it is the 10-second delay, that's unpractical. Yeah, some of that's just kind of the latency of how the watch works. I think Apple is very sensitive to make sure that the battery life of your watch is not negatively impacted by the apps and the notifications running. So I think it's trying to give an opportunity for you to use your phone before it resorts to using your watch. So some of that's a little bit out of our control. Some of it's just the nature of Bluetooth not being, it'd probably be draining your battery if your watch was constantly in series talking to your phone, So I think some of that has to do with battery management, but some of it's out of our control a little bit. Ethan, you love the Apple Watch horn feature as well, so hopefully when you're doing things, yeah, absolutely. The other day I was shoveling snow, and I got the notification. I was able to sound my horn from my watch. It's like, all right, I would not have been sounding my horn while I shovel snow otherwise. But alas, I think we should wrap things up as we approach the 1 hour, 15-minute mark. I think we're past the point where I usually try to wrap things up, so we'll try to do that. Once again, hey, the trivia question, if you didn't get the reward there, make sure to click the link. I'm pretty sure it's some mild spice leaves, which are handy. When Big Jack shows up, you're going to be able to trade those up into a few medium if you want, or hey, maybe you need mild spice leaves. Enjoy. That's about going to do it for me, hunters. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It'll most likely be Jacob joining you next week for some more Art of Some Nature. Remember, Big Jack will be visiting next week, Tuesday, February 7. So there's not too much to prepare for there, but hey, you could take stock of maybe your inventory of items and what you have. Maybe start thinking about how you want to exchange stuff while she's here. Again, remember too, that is the day when Big Jack arrives. Simultaneously, the Lunar New Year event will officially be in the books. So if you have not claimed your reward track, there should be a camp banner yelling at you to claim it. Please click that button to avoid disappointment. Similarly, load up the shop, check out the Trapsmith. Hey, if there are any trap skins that you want to purchase now, or you're going to have to wait until next year, basically. So make sure you do that before February 7, no later than February 6. That's my advice. If you look at your calendar and it's Monday and you haven't done your Lunar New Year cash out, do it right then to avoid disappointment. Roxanne says, wow, 250 tungsten. I don't think tungsten's in the drop-down box of what Larry can hand out. And I think the limit is 25. That is the most of any one item that can be handed out. So we've got some safety nets around that thing. It's a scary thing. It's just not a drop-down box of anything in the game. All right, once again, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Happy hunting.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me. I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. Just when I think I'm safe, oh. Turns out I'm never safe. Oh, just when you think you're safe, it turns out I'm never safe. Whoa. Turns out I'm never safe.